Hello and welcome to our second episode of TeenTalk. In this podcast, we explore and discuss common struggles found in teenagers, such as school life and mental health. We are IB students and this is a cast project that we will be working on for a while. For safety reasons, we will be using the nicknames
Eulalia
and Athena. The topic of today will be a deeper one, school bullying. Now, here I did my research and here are some statistics that I found. So, for example, 1 out of every 5 students report being bullied. Now, personally, I've never had any experience with bullying. I've never bullied and I've never been bullied by anyone. But Eulalia has had her experiences, so let's see her take on this.
The thing is, it happened when I was really young, so I don't really remember exactly what happened. But I do remember, the feeling of being absolutely outcasted by the rest of the people who were supposed to be my friends, and realizing that I wasn't really laughing, that I was being laughed at. Yeah. And that's a realization that really hits hard once you realize it, and it impacts you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough situation, It's that moment of realization, I guess, that you just never realize until it actually happens. You know what I mean?
It's really, of course, I wasn't bullied like in high school or anything like that. I was bullied when I was really, really young. Right. So it was more of a thing about games and not being included in different activities, of always feeling outcasted. Although that has followed me throughout my life, but that's because since as a child, I was used to that. When I was older, I always went back to that idea of, I'm going to be an outcast, so I'd rather act like an outcast than try to change it. And it's why I've been so quiet for so many years.
Yeah, and another statistic is that the reasons for being bullied reported most often by students include physical appearance, race or ethnicity, gender, disability, religion, sexual orientation. So what applied to you in your situation? Or was it not explicitly one of these?
It was a little bit of physical appearance. Like, I did get a little bit bullied for how I looked at the time. And even though I was a kid, and all kids kind of look the same, I was bullied for being a little bit taller, for being not as skinny, for all of those things. It's mostly just, they look for any single thing that you show a slightest bit of insecurity of, and they attack you for it. I was also bullied because my family wasn't wealthy at the time, and so they would break like my shoes, they would break my clothes or whatever, knowing that it would be hard for my family to pay for that. Of course, they didn't really understand that because we were all kids, but they still had a sense of what was going on, which is what made it so hard to go through.
Yeah, and here is another interesting fact that I think kind of applies to your situation. So a higher percentage of male than of female students report being physically bullied, whereas a higher percentage of female than of male students report being the subject of rumors or more kind of psychological bullying.
I've seen that a lot. I remember my dad was also bullied, and he was bullied physically. However, I was bullied a little bit physically when I was really young, but then from then onwards, it's been, if anything, psychological bullying. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of women that I know have gone through that kind of rumorous different things that happen between women where they try to put each other down in any sense possible, because it's the only thing that a lot of girls know how to do.
Yeah, that's true. And also because, I think stereotypes kind of come to play with this, and the whole men are the ones who are strong, men are the ones who hit. And then, so women, they've always been kind of, their way out is to do it verbally, to do it emotionally, psychologically. And the whole spreading rumors thing, that is something I'm to blame for. Because I used to do that, but we've grown, we've learned.
Yeah, I've seen bullies that grow and learn, and not any of mine that have decided to talk to me or apologize to me. But I do know people that have admitted to having bullied and then having learned from that. During a while, I actually started to hang out with bullies in my school. Yeah. the thing is, we would all bully each other, so there wasn't really... I was a bullier and bullied, so it's like I got the worst of both worlds.
Oh, so it's like the mutual thing, like for both. Oh, damn.
It was like roasting era thing. I don't know what's going on. But it's not okay. I don't know how to say this. It's horrible to go through it, and it's horrible to realize what you've done when you grow up.
That's true.
To know you put someone through all of that.
Yeah, definitely. And also, 41% of students who reported being bullied at school indicated that they think the bullying would happen again. Now, I think this one is a very interesting one, because the fact that everyone talks about bullying, everyone is aware of the dangers of it, of how much pain it has caused so many people. Yet, 41% of those students who have been bullied believe that there's a high chance that it could happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's because, as I said before, it's like you grow used to that idea of being bullied, and you get used to the fact that you will not be loved or respected by other people.
Right.
You will always be outcasted, so you immediately are more vulnerable to more bullying because you lost that self-confidence, and when bullies see that, they target you. They target you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's so, like, the fact that you kind of normalize it yourself, like, that is just so wrong in so many ways.
Yeah, and between kids who are bullied and they make friend groups, it's also normalized between them. Yeah. Like, instead of coming together and, like, and this isn't a movie, but, you know, coming together and trying to fight against the bullying, usually it's just you propel that whole depressive state onto each other.
Yeah.
And it gets even worse.
It's like a vicious cycle, you know? It's like it happens and then it's bound to happen again. And I think that is the main problem. Like, people, when will we learn from our mistakes? Please.
When will we learn?
But it's true. And then, obviously, this has later effects on you. So, for example, like, you know, increased risks of depression or anxiety, like insomnia, lower academic achievement, and even dropping out of school.
I've seen people go through all of those. I myself nowadays have anxiety, and that's something that I've been dealing with. I don't have very high anxiety, thank God, but like I know so many of my friends that were bullied that now suffer from depression, that especially anxiety. I see a lot of people with anxiety nowadays who are bullied, and lower academic achievement. Obviously, you can't really focus on your grades if you're being beat up psychologically or physically by someone.
I mean, it's just so traumatic that it can't just leave away from your mind, you know? So it's normal that you have those effects on you. And also the fact that there is a strong, like, association between bullying and suicide-related behaviors.
Definitely.
Now, that is, like, even deeper. Like, the fact that we're entering this territory is wow. But, you know, it needs to be spoken about.
Definitely.
And you know, this relationship is often mediated by other factors, such as what we mentioned earlier, the depression, the anxiety, violent behavior, and even substance abuse at our age.
Yeah, definitely. I've also seen that a lot is because you see that you will not be appreciated by other people, you just decide that you have no reason to live anymore around other people because it's just going to happen over and over again. So I've seen a lot of people who became suicidal because of that, and I've seen a lot of people grow out of it. In fact, all my friends who were suicidal at the time are now dealing with it and are now getting better. But it is something that no one should have to go through. Like, even if there is a way to help yourself, it shouldn't even happen in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't get why it keeps happening over and over.
Yeah, and going back to this keep on happening thing, the false notion that suicide is a natural response to being bullied has the dangerous potential to normalize the response and thus create copycat behavior among youth.
Definitely. That happened to me a lot. When I wasn't really being bullied anymore, I was only like slightly outcasted by other people. I got into a group of friends, and at the time, you know, I'm still really close to some of those people.
Yeah.
But when we were together in that headspace, the only thing that would happen is we would have more depression by talking about having depression, all the time, and we would compare our horrible experiences and try to like have a worse life than the other. And the only thing that would do is create this horrible environment where everyone kept being worse and worse mentally in order to cope, but we weren't really coping.
Yeah, it was just like kind of like feeding more into it. And interestingly enough, I had a conversation with a friend earlier, and we talked about, you know, how this is also seen in like social media, for example.
Definitely.
So people with depression, anxiety, you know, anything similar to that, they put on TikTok relatable videos for people who have the same thing going on. And then people who don't have these conditions, they read it, they watch those videos, and then they believe that that's how they should feel too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's completely okay, but it should not be normalized.
Definitely. I know I've seen so many of those TikToks, and I was feeding into that when I was in that environment too.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't able to grow because the only thing that I would consume was depressive things, or even if it was a joke, it was still alluding to depression or anxiety, or all of those things. And the fact that that was the only thing I did, I only listened to sad music. The only thing that did was make me worse. And it made me think things such as, I don't know, self-harm. It made me think of things such as suicide, because I thought that was what I had to think, because I was depressed. But it just became a cycle with my friends and a cycle with social media. Everywhere I went, it was this cycle of you have to be sad. You have to not be okay in order to be, I don't know, acceptable.
I mean, yeah, and that is just, it's so flawed. The idea that, you know, if I'm going through this, then everyone else should too. Wait, no. You should just get better. Please, like, just work on yourself.
It's good to talk about it, but you have to be careful when you talk about it, because...
And who you talk about it with. Yeah, exactly.
Because you could affect so many people.
Posting it around, having thousands of people seeing it, even millions of people. It's just, you know, you just got to be aware. And that brings us to my last point, which is just basic tips for people who are kind of going through these situations and, you know, how to help them, basically.
I just think it's important to talk about it with someone in the right headspace. Like, when you both of you are more or less okay, I think it's important that you state, hey, you know, we don't have this doesn't have to be normalized. I'm not trying to normalize it. I want to get this out of my chest. Because when my friends and I started doing that, started saying, hey, I don't want you to reply to me. I don't want you to, like, try to help me in any way. I don't want you to get obsessed with my own depression. I want you to just hear me out. I just want to vent to you real quick, and that's it. And, you know, venting is okay, but you've got to tell the other person beforehand.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful with how you talk about it, but it is important that you talk about it.
Well, I mean, this one's for... Okay, so I've spread rumors before. So I wasn't like a self-proclaimed bully at all. It's just I had personal vendettas against other people, and I kind of took it out in the wrong ways.
Yeah.
So, you know, for people who like vengeance and, you know, like taking things out the wrong ways, please listen. You know, spreading rumors, not cool. And one day it will backfire.
It's gonna come back to bite you.
Yeah, and this also goes for bullies. It will backfire. So if you just, you know, try to channel the anger in healthy ways instead of taking it out on other people, that I think that is what I would say based on my experiences. Yeah,
it's so important to, I guess, tip number 3, look into yourself and try to... Of course, it's hard to help oneself. I would recommend, obviously, getting professional help, even as the bullier and the bullied.
Yeah.
But if you can't, then it's important that you change, or you try to change your mindset into being a better person, not by criticizing yourself, but by growing into a kinder, more not bullying or bullied personality. I don't know how to say it.
Just, you know, personal growth and just learning from your mistakes or learning from other people's mistakes so you don't do them yourself.
Definitely.
And yeah, Well, okay. That was our second episode, and get ready for the third one coming up soon. And well, stay tuned.
Bye.